Here begins a tale soaked in thunder and humming with forgotten songs, the story of a child who sang in the skies that wept in reply. The winds of Agata, when rivers speak in tongue. Part 19, The Boy Who Sang to Storm. Chapter 1, The Voice That Called Rain. In the rain-starved plains of Akarania, where even the baobab trees bowed under heat's tyranny, a boy was born with a voice like the wind, soft, wild, and ancient. His name was Ishizona, meaning do not forget the past. He never cried at birth. He sang a low hum that made every roof rattle and every goat bleat in terror. His mother, Adama, whispered to the midwife, "Greater than my child carries thunder in his throat." By the age of 5, when he laughed, clouds gathered. By 7, his lullabies brought rain. By 10, he refused to sing because one song had caused a village flood that drowned 3 homes in a shrine. He feared his own voice. Until the drought returned. Chapter 2, The Drought of Silent Godsagarania's skies hardened. Crops curled like old paper. Wells spat dust. The rain priests failed. The river oracle murmured in its sleep. Then the earth mother tree, sacred and hollow, cracked open and a bird flew out, a black egret with silver eyes. It cried, "Greater than the voice must rise. The storm song must be sung, or all shall fall into the dry silence." Kaya, Nkemchika, Yukam, and Unmachi were summoned. They found Ishizona under a mound of silence. He told them, "Greater than I cannot sing again. I am afraid of what I will break." But Kaya said, "Greater than there are things worse than breaking, like forgetting how to mend." So they took him to the shrine of Thunder Ears, deep in the hills of Owaran, where storm spirits once whispered into mortar bowls. Chapter 3, The Storm Shield of Nweko. There, they met Nweko, the last of the rain-walkers, elderly, blind, and tattooed with lightning across her chest. She tested Ishizona by walking him through the 3 songs of storms, the whistle of wanting, a song that calls clouds but not rain. The cry of cracked earth, a lamentation that breaks open the sky's vault. The lullaby of letting go, a final song that calms even hurricanes, but costs a memory in return. Ishizona sang each. The sky wept. The wind danced. Rivers murmured. But at the 3rd song, he forgot his sister's name. The price of peace. He cried, "Greater than it is too costly." Nweko placed her hand on his chest. "Greater than, then sing for others. Let your memories become their rain." Chapter 4, The Floodwalker returns. When they returned to Akarania, the sky was cracked but dry. The people gathered, gaunt and weary. Ishizona stepped forward. He sang not to summon, but to understand the storm. And for the first time, the clouds did not rage. They listened. And rain fell not in anger, but in grace. It healed the land. The river oracle awoke and bowed to the boy, "Greater than you are no longer storm singer. You are floodwalker who can carry thunder without drowning the world." Chapter 5, The Song That Stayed. Years later, in the season when frogs returned to sing, children told stories of a man who carried storms in his pockets and laughter in his eyes. They said if you hum under a certain tree near Akarania, the wind joins in. No one remembers Ishizona's face. But every drop of gentle rain? That is his legacy. Here begins a tale carved in stone and shaped by longing, a tale of height, silence, and the ache of something immovable desiring the impossible. The winds of Agata, when rivers speak in tongue. Part 20, The Mountain That Dreamed of Sky. Chapter 1, The Stone That Heard a Wish. In the ancient north of Agata, where winds sleep beneath granite and time wears rock into riddles, there stood Mount Aganaba, a mountain no one dared climb. They said the mountain was alive. They said it listened. And once every 1,000 years, it dreamed. When it dreamed, the ground shook. Rain fell upward. Birds flew backward. This was the season of the dream. And this time, the mountain dreamed not of earth or root, but of sky. It wished to rise higher than the clouds, to kiss the stars, to fly. But it was stone. So it groaned. And when a tremor broke the river path, Kaya and the others were called to climb the dreaming mountain to calm it before it reshaped the land. Chapter 2, The Voiceless Climb. No trail led up Mount Aganaba, only the path of bones, littered with the remains of those who dared the height and failed to return. As they climbed, Kaya, Nkemjika, Yukum, and Dunmaji each began to feel the mountain's grief. Nkemjika heard whispers in stone. Yukum felt his feet drawn downward by invisible hands. Dunmaji saw memories of lands the mountain once cradled. Kaya saw herself as a girl, weeping beneath a cliff, and heard the mountain sigh, "I remember." By dusk, they reached the throat of the mountain, a vast cave that echoed dreams. There, a voice spoke not with words, but with weight, "Greater than I want to rise." Chapter 3, The Sky and the Stone. Within the cave lay a shard of fallen sky, lodged in a pillar of basalt. Legend said it was once a star, and the mountain had swallowed it out of loneliness. Now, it pulsed like a heartbeat. Kaya touched it. A vision burst across her mind, a time when the mountain walked, long before it settled. It had danced across the world, chasing the moon. But then men prayed for stillness. And it answered. It forgot it once moved. Now, the shard was waking that memory. "Greater than I am stone, yes," the mountain murmured through the walls. "But inside me is a piece of sky. Must I not try to become what I carry?" Kaya whispered, "Greater than you do not have to fly to touch the sky." Chapter 4, The Dance of a Senthi. Planted 4 sky drums, crafted from moonwood and tuned to thunder, on the mountain's cardinal points. Each beat summoned wind, lifting the mountain's heart, not its body. Ishizona, the floodwalker, came and sang the song of upward longing. And then, the mountain did not rise, but the sky lowered. Clouds wrapped it in a shawl. Stars blinked close. And for one brief moment, Mount Aganaba touched the sky not with stone, but with story. It dreamed without pain. And slept. Chapter 5, The Song of Stillness. In the years that followed, a village formed at the base of Mount Aganaba. They were called the listeners, and every child was taught, greater than stillness can dream. Height is not always needed to touch wonder. An even stone carries longing. Pilgrims come, not to climb, but to sit and sing to the mountain, telling it of the skies they've seen. And every 1,000 years, when it dreams again, it dreams not of flight, but of the voices that brought the sky to its brow.
Here begins a tale whispered in sweat and sung in ember, a tale of something burned, something lost, and a fire that refused to forget. The winds of Agata, when rivers speak in tongues. Part 21, The Ashes That Remembered Fiery. Chapter 1, The Village of Forgetful Fira. There was once a village named Amurueti, nestled deep in a valley surrounded by stone hills. It was the warmest village in all of Agat, not because of its sun, but because of its sacred flame, called Nruakem, the strength fire. It had burned since the first days. Mothers lit their births by it. Warriors whispered to it before battle. The dead were buried with its ember pressed to their hearts. Then one night, the flame died. No wind, no water, no theft. It simply vanished, leaving behind cold ashes that smelled not of smoke, but of regret. And the villagers? They forgot it ever existed. Only one person remembered, an old woman named Idaoma, whose skin was seamed with fire scars and whose breath hissed with coal sound. Chapter 2, The Ash Keepers. Till Idaoma had once been the Flame Keeper, sworn to speak to the fire and tend its secrets. When the flame vanished, her memories remained, but no one believed her. They called her mad. She whispered to the cold hearth each morning, "Greater than you are not dead. You are only sleeping beneath forgetfulness." Then the land began to suffer. Crops withered in confusion. Fertility waned. The river ran strange. People dreamed of cold, endless forests and saw faces they didn't know. Idaoma knew what it meant. The ashes had started remembering and they were angry. She called for Kaya and the others, sending a fireless beacon smoke with no source. Chapter 3, The Memory Beneath the Hearth. When Kaya, Nkemjika, Dunmaji, and Yukum arrived, the village was eerie. Children played without laughter. Drums thudded without echo. Idaoma took them to the great hearth, where the ashes still sat untouched for 12 years. She told them, greater than ash is not the end of fire. It is its echo, its memory. Then she showed them a hidden ember, buried deep in clay, pulsing very faintly. To awaken it, they had to walk through fire memories rituals once held, truths once burned. One by one, they performed ancient rites, and Kamchaka danced the rite of fire birth, barefoot on ember. Damaji chanted the lament of flame loss, eyes closed. Yukam offered a lock of his own hair, the old price for fire wisdom. Kaya bled on the hearthstone and whispered, "Let the past light the present." The ember flared. A voice sighed from the ashes, "Greater than I burned for you once. Why did you forget me?" Chapter 4, The Trial of Flame Memory. To restore the fire, they had to pass through its memory, now a living spirit, Ojinru, the forgotten flame. Ojinru took the form of a child made of ash and ember, with eyes of cinder and a voice like crackling branches. It tested each of them. Kaya was shown her rage the night she wanted to burn a village for revenge. Yukam faced the fire he never saved, his brother's pyre. Damaji relived the day he let a fire die to protect a secret. Kamchaka heard the flames accuse her of being silent too long. Only Idaoma was untested. The fire said, "Greater than you remembered. That is enough." At last, Ojinru declared, "Greater than you are not here to ignite me. You are here to forgive me." They did. And the hearth blazed again, not just with fire, but with memory. Chapter 5, The New Flamet Village changed. Each hut now kept a memory flame, small, quiet, but conscious. They did not speak to it as before. They listened. Idaoma passed in her sleep a moon later, smiling. She was buried with her ashes, not her body. The villagers say that when you sit by the new flame and close your eyes, you hear her voice whisper, "Greater than even the forgotten burn bright." When remembered with truth. Here begins a tale born in rhythm and rain, a tale where sound remembers sorrow, and a drum weeps louder than thunder. The winds of Agata, when rivers speak in tongue. Part 22, The Drum That Cried at Dawn. Chapter 1, The Unweeping Village. In the high plains of Bonny, where children were born with rhythm in their feet and wind hummed lullabies into clay walls, music was not art, it was language. Every home had a drum. Every heart beat in time with sky and soil. And every death, joy, or birth was announced with the proper rhythm. Until the night of the silent sky. A revered drummer named Obis, whose hands were said to command birds and breezes, fell in battle defending the last river shrine from ash spirits. His drum, a kengenzu, carved from sacred Iroka wood and lion hide, was returned to the village. But it refused to play. No sound. No echo. No beat. When the priest struck it during Obis's funeral, the air broke instead. The villagers screamed. Trees shed leaves. Babies wailed. Since then, no drum played true in Bonny. Rhythms faltered. Crops failed. Spirits wandered. Until one dawn, when a silent Ikengenzu wept. Chapter 2, The tears of the drum weeping began just before sunrise. A slow, thick sound like rain hitting bone. A whimpering tone of sorrow too deep for words. Children hid. Elders trembled. The drum cried from the shrine alone, untouched. The people feared it. But Kaya and her companions, following dreams scattered in rhythm, arrived that same morning. Kamchaka placed her ear to the wood. The drum whispered, "Greater than he never said goodbye." It was grieving. And in grieving alone, it had cursed the village with silence. Chapter 3, The Missing Beat. Obis's spirit had not crossed the river. Instead, it remained bound to the final rhythm he never played, the farewell beat, performed only once in a lifetime, passed from master to master. But Obis died with it locked in his chest. To free the rhythm, they needed to find the notes written not in ink, but in pain, memories buried in his bones. So they journeyed to the forest of forgotten songs, where echoes go to sleep. In that forest, rhythm is air. They found Opie's ghost playing to trees, alone, lost in a loop of incomplete notes. He would not stop. Not until someone completed the rhythm. Chapter 4, the rhythm of Kaya picked up a branch and began tapping the call of echoes. Danmaji joined with a morning hum passed down by his grandmother. Yukam used his breath like wind over hollow reed. And Kamjika struck the final 3 beats, passed into her spirit long ago by Obi's himself when she was a child he once saved from drowning. At that moment, the rhythm was complete. Obi's paused, looked up, smiled. "Greater than you found me," he said. And with that, his ghost dissolved into light and music, a sound that soared into the sky and returned as gentle rain. The forest sighed. And in the distance, Ikengansu began to beat again. Not with sorrow, but with thanks. Chapter 5, the beat returns back in Bani. The village awoke to the first sunrise without silence in 12 moons. Drums responded across the valley, playing themselves. Crops bloomed to rhythm. Children danced without instruction. And the Ikenganzu was placed in the center of the village, not to be played again, but to listen. Each year, on the dawn of farewell, the villagers strike 3 beats on the earth with their feet. They say it keeps Obi's walking with them, his rhythm guiding harvests and hearts. And if you stand by the shrine just before dawn, you might hear the drum whisper, "Greater than every beat must end." But some songs live forever.
Here begins a tale stitched in silence and sealed in dusk, a tale where shadows remember who wore them and who dared to walk without one. The winds of Agata, when rivers speak in Tungwas. Part 23, the woman who sowed shadow. Chapter 1, the village without darkness. In the borderland settlement of Iken, a strange thing had happened. For 7 years, no one had cast a shadow. Not at noon. Not under moonlight. Not even in candlelight. The sun still rose. The moon still smiled. But all shadows were gone, as if light no longer remembered darkness. The people forgot fear. Then they forgot dreams. Then they began to forget names. And in the forgotten quarter of the village lived a woman with silver hair and needles for fingers. She was called Asanma, the Thread Widow. She remembered shadows. She remembered everything. And she was sewing them back, one forgotten shadow at a time. Chapter 2, the needles of memory. Asanma's hut was lined with garments that moved on their own. Not by wind, but by memory. A hunter's coat paced like a tiger. A child's dress twirled to a lullaby only it could hear. A morning rat wept quietly in the corner. She used thread made from amoka leaves, gathered only at the hour between sunset and moonrise. The fabric came from lost things, worn prayer mats, battle-stained wrappers, the hems of forgotten wedding robes. But one thing she lacked: a living shadow to remember itself. Until Kaya and the others arrived. The winds had whispered her name. Chapter 3, the man without a shadow among the travelers was Yukam. He had always walked lightly. But here, he noticed, he cast no shadow. And worse, when he slept, he dreamed nothing. Asanma examined him and said, "You were born in the year of the eclipse, weren't you?" He nodded. She smiled grimly. "Greater than your shadow was taken before you learned to cry. It sleeps beneath the hill of names, tied to a stolen thread. To reclaim it, Yukam had to do something dangerous. He had to walk into his own forgotten night." Asanma gave him a cloak sewn from other people's lost shadows to guide him. It whispered with 1,000 breaths. Chapter 4, the Hill of Namest. Hill of Names was a place where the wind called out forgotten things. Names of the unloved. Of the abandoned. Of those who died without being remembered. There, Yukam met a girl made of twilight and thread, his shadow, now grown. She said, "Greater than you left me behind. You walked in light that didn't belong to you." He begged her forgiveness. She replied, "Greater than you must carry me not behind you, but within." So he walked back, not dragging her behind him but wearing her, stitched into his soul by Asanma's thread. When he returned, his dreams came rushing back. And with them his fear, his courage, and his laughter. Chapter 5, The Shadow Seamstress. With Yukum's help, Asanma began weaving faster, stronger. Every day, she stitched new shadows for the village, drawn from stories retold, fears embraced, names remembered. And when the first baby in years was born, casting a perfect shadow, the village wept with joy. The people learned that shadows are not curses. They are proof that something inside you meets the world outside. That evening, the village of Icon danced under torchlight for the first time in 7 years, each dancer casting a long, graceful shadow. Asanma watched from her porch and whispered, "Greater than a life without a shadow is a life that refuses to remember."